time to be with us tonight. It should be a very informative session. Our faculty and staff has really worked hard this summer. And if we needed a shot in the arm, we received it within the last 2 days because we were finally able to see our students in person. Yesterday, we were able to see our freshman class, and they look like a dynamite group. So that's really got us inspired. And today we were able to see all of our returning students and some transfer students in the building. And they, I think, reminded us of why we do what we do, of the great mission of Holy Trinity High School, and the excitement that any new class year begins. I think that all of you know that your child's education is precious, and we at Holy Trinity take on the responsibility and the partnership with you very seriously to educate your child according to our Holy Cross values. Now, I know when you were thinking pre-COVID about this school year for your children, you were probably thinking about rites of passage and important moments and great celebrations that our community could have. Well, obviously, the turn of events have resulted in us looking at it a little differently. But I can assure you that everything we do will have that very special Holy Trinity feel to it. That family type, every student is valued feel to it. And although we won't be together as a group this semester, we have various things in mind that'll keep us closely connected and remind us that we are, in fact, a Holy Trinity family. Now, I mentioned that our faculty, staff, and even our leadership worked very hard this summer. We really had two goals and one overriding concern. Our first goal was for those parents and students that wanted a remote education this semester to provide for them a challenging and robust program. And for those parents that wanted their children to experience in-school instruction, even if it was only for a couple days a week, we wanted to provide a healthy and safe environment. And I can tell you tonight that we have done that. We are proud of where we were and where we are in regards to both of our goals. The overriding concern, though, is that with a community that's split, is how we make sure that every student understands that there are very special, talented faculty and staff there for them. So whether your child is at home e-learning, whether your child is coming to school a few days a week, please express to them that the Holy Trinity community is there for them. This is no excuse to lose anybody or leave anybody behind. And so we will work extra hard over the next several months to make sure that not only your child, but that you are connected to Holy Trinity. And make sure that the message is clear that we welcome and encourage open communication about anything that you or your child may need, especially during this first semester. There are a few things that I should bring you up to date on, and both are very exciting. You might remember in the summer of 2019, we started what we affectionately labeled the Facade Project. And that took us through all of the summer of 2019 and the beginning of the school year and almost all the way to Thanksgiving. Once we were able to get some decent weather in the spring, we continued that project. And I am very, very excited to tell you that that project is completed. The Division and Cleaver Street sides of our building have never looked better, and more importantly, they are fundamentally safe and they are efficient. So if you haven't had a chance to come by Holy Trinity lately, please do, because it looks spectacular. The other thing that is of important to note is for those parents that drop and pick up their students at Holy Trinity, you may know that for a while we have been petitioning the city to try to get a loaning zone so that our students can get out and into their cars in a safe manner. Well, I'm happy to report through a lot of effort, and especially the parent club and all they provided for incentive, we were able to do so. So right now, the Division Street side of the building in front of the main entry doors, there's a 40-foot loading zone that keeps anybody from parking there between 7 o'clock in the morning and 5:30 in the afternoon. So it should be a very easy drop off or pickup. Just move your car to the curbside and your students can get out on the curbside and be greeted by one of our administrators. So we're excited about that. But there's plenty of more information tonight that's important. So I'm going to step aside. I'm going to turn it over to our excellent team, and they're going to give you the specifics, but we'll be back for questions that you may have. So I'm going to turn it over back to Dr. Payton, and I want to thank you for your faith in Holy Trinity, and I look forward to an exceptional year with your children. Thank you.
Good evening, Holy Trinity family, and welcome to Parent Orientation. I'm not going to take too long with my opening remarks, just to echo what Mr. Bob indicated, that myself and my team have worked tirelessly this summer to prepare for this school year, and we believe we're there. I'm going to say a few more words a little bit later regarding an update on our safety precautions as well as e-learning, because I need the parents and the families, grandma, grandpa, everyone, to help us to ensure that your students are getting the e-learning instruction, high-level e-learning instruction that they deserve. But without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Brother James, and he's going to talk a little bit about the Brothers of Holy Cross.
Thank you, Dr. Payton. Welcome, parents. I'm happy to be able to share this event with you to tell you a little bit about the Brothers of Holy Cross and Holy Trinity High School and why we say that Holy Trinity is a Holy Cross school. I'm known around school as Brother James or just plain brother. And the Brothers of Holy Cross began Holy Trinity High School 110 years ago in 1910. If you're not familiar with what a brother is, let me explain that. A brother in the Catholic Church is a member of a religious order, a group of men or women who dedicate themselves to serving God and people. Now, I'm not a priest. I'm actually more like a nun. We brothers work together. We promise not to marry so that we can devote full time to our ministry, and we pool all of our income to be able to help support our ministries. Around Holy Trinity, you'll see frequently the symbol of the Brothers of Holy Cross. In fact, I'm wearing it around my neck this evening, and that is the cross and anchors. The cross, of course, representing the redemption that Jesus brought to all of us, and anchors, a very ancient symbol of hope. And these symbols were brought together by the founders of Holy Cross, who are explained on the next slide. Now, the first person that I want to spend a minute talking about is Father Jacques Dujarier. Holy Cross began during the time of the French Revolution and afterwards, when priests were being executed or imprisoned or forbidden to minister. Father Dujarier was ordained in secret But when the revolution was over and he could work publicly again, one of the first things he wanted to do was to make sure that the daughters and the sons of common people, not just the wealthy, would receive an education. So 200 years ago, he began to lead the first brothers into that ministry. As he got older, he handed his work over to a younger priest that he knew, Father Basil Moreau. And Father Moreau put together the brothers with some priests to continue this work of serving God and serving people, particularly in educating young people. He did this in a town in France called Saint-Croix, which translates as Holy Cross. And that's why we are known as the Brothers of Holy Cross. We came to the United States in 1841. And with the next slide, we see that over the course of years, the ministry spread out through universities and high schools, including Notre Dame University in South Bend, and including Holy Trinity High School. Holy Trinity was begun to educate the boys of a local parish in 1910. The next slide, please. One thing that you'll hear quoted frequently in people who talk about Holy Trinity and talk about the Holy Cross identification is the concept that Father Moreau had of educating hearts and minds. It's the idea that our education doesn't just give us knowledge, but it gives us character. It helps form our hearts so that we treat people with kindness, forgiveness, that we are generous, that we use the education we have for the right reasons. Or as Father Moreau said, knowledge itself does not bring about positive values, but positive values do influence knowledge and put it to good use. We can be intelligent, that doesn't mean we'll necessarily be good, but we put education and goodness together. And that leads us to our Holy Cross values at Holy Trinity, which are named on the next slide. We emphasize 5 of them. First of all, the value of discipline, not just discipline coming from the outside on us, but each of us disciplining ourselves to behave properly towards others. Integrity. We try to help students become people of integrity, true to the values that they stand for. Honest. Excellence. Excellence meaning each of us at Holy Trinity strive to do the best we can with the talents that God has given us. Zeal. We do everything with enthusiasm and energy, wanting to make a difference in the world and establish social justice. And finally, the value that Mr. Bob mentioned earlier, the value we're highlighting this year, family. We hope that your son or daughter feel members of the Holy Trinity family. We hope that all parents do as well. And we thank you for the privilege of working together with you to educate your sons and daughters. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to give a few introductions of some of my staff who will be joining us on this call. First, we have Nara Mahone, who is our assistant principal. We also have Dr. Bernada Baker, who is our dean of students. Mr. Jonathan Tarasi, who is our director of technology and a member of our faculty. And again, Mr. Charles Jefferson, who is our director of marketing. They all will have a moment to speak tonight regarding their specific area. Next. I know I spoke to you guys a few weeks ago when we first met regarding our school safety measures. I would like to reiterate a few points about that. First are our blue and gold and e-learning cohorts. Now, At the outset of the summer, we decided, in the interest of social distancing optimization, that is, making sure that we had the least amount of students in the building, while at the same time being able to give high quality instruction to as many students as we could by splitting them up into cohorts. The first cohort is very easy. That's our e-learning cohort. Those students will be going to school every day at home. We're asking parents, and I'm going to speak a little bit more about this in a minute, about making sure that their child has a comfortable and safe place in their home to go to school every day via their Chromebooks. The other two cohorts are blue and gold. Those cohorts are filled with students who will be coming into the building twice a week. Now, many of you have been changing your cohorts all the way up as recently as within the last hour. We have allowed that and we've accommodated that because we understand that parents also have to get to work. And we wanted to make sure that you guys were in the best position to get to work and also bring your kids to school. However, as we have tried to accommodate not only parents, but also students, and not just with cohorts, but with schedule changes and other preferences, we have now come to the end of that. School starts tomorrow, and we have to get started. So at this point, the only thing that can be changed are parents who are in the hybrid model with their kids who wish to move to e-learning. Now, the reason for that can be a multiple number of things. It could be an outbreak here in Illinois or in Chicago. Or parents just might feel at some point safer with their kids at home instead of them coming into the building. If there was a breakout here in the building, we would all go e-learning, and some parents from that event may decide, okay, I think I want my child to be e-learning all 5 days. But other than switching from hybrid to e-learning, we won't make any more changes. And that's not a knock against you, but it takes a lot of work to go into the systems and consistently and constantly switch students from e-learning to hybrid or from blue to gold, and to do that maybe 3 or 4 times, as some of you have asked. We have tried to accommodate you, but at this point, we now must move forward. Now, we've ordered several things since the last time that we spoke. Number one, we ordered more face masks. We know that your son or daughter may be coming to school with their own mask. Many of them that came to orientation did so, and that's great. But we also ordered masks for the institution. In case your son or daughter's mask breaks, or they lose it, or it gets damaged somehow, we want to make sure that they always have a mask to wear. Because if they don't, we are going to have to do something about that. Now, we haven't had any situations where students have refused to wear their masks, but if that should happen, you guys will be getting a call from me, and that student probably may have to go home for that day. At the beginning of the day, as students come into the building, we will be taking their temperatures. Now, the magic number for temperatures is 100.3 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, that sounds a little elevated to you. It does to me as well. But we also understand that right now it's also pretty hot. Some of the kids who come to school every day do so via public transportation, or they walk, or they ride their bike. So if someone's over 100.3, we will isolate them, take their temperature again 10 minutes later. And if they're under, we'll allow them to go to class. But if they're not, you guys will be getting a call from me. We will keep your child isolated away from any other students or staff, and they'll probably have to go home. In the schools, we're not taking any chances with this virus. We feel like that's the only way to be safe and cautious for all involved. Now, the other good news is the school has gone to great expense for air ventilation. Each class has been outfitted with giant ceiling fans, 2 per class. In addition to that, we have ordered fans because each room is not outfitted with air conditioning. As you can imagine, on a 3rd floor of a building like this, in August and early September, it can be pretty hot. But so far, the fans have worked out, and each room is very cool, and we don't anticipate any students having any issues with air. Now, classes like physical education and gym, we've also gone to great extent. Make sure that your students are protected. Gym will happen for the first 6 weeks of the semester outside. As you may already know, the virus doesn't transmit as well outside as it does indoors. So we want to make sure that any opportunity we can get the kids outside, we do. Because of that, students are able to wear their gym uniform to class every day. Now, when the weather changes, they can wear their gym uniform under their uniform because they'll need to be a little bit more warmer. But as of right now, they can wear their gym uniform to class. Now, the cafeteria, we've also outfitted with plexiglass windows on each table. And each table only has 2 chairs in it. We wanted to make sure that socially distance was always a priority in every aspect of our building, especially the cafeteria. There are 4 lunch periods. We'll have students coming in and out of there all day, well, at least from 4th and 5th period. We have also marked the floor with floor markings indicating where is 6 feet apart. And we're going to be asking our students to obey them. We want to ask you to help us do that. So please, reiterate that to all of your kids tonight at home. Reiterate that all safety guidelines must be followed while they're in the building. And that also includes things like passing periods, when they get to the building, but maybe even more importantly, when they leave the building. Now the bell rings at 3 o'clock and students will be dismissed out of the building at that time. Unless they're with the teacher or with the tutor needing some sort of academic assistance. At this point, we're asking all students to leave the building. All school personnel will come into the hallways and help usher students out of the building. We want them outside because we actually feel like they are better protected outside, so long as they're wearing their mask and so long as they're socially distanced. Now, another key point, our lockers. The lockers cannot be used this semester. That includes the locker room. So what that means is, as of right now, everything that your son or daughter brings to the building, they will have to keep on their person. Now, when they go to class, because we have these split cohorts, there's plenty of room in the classrooms to lay their book bags down or jacket or anything else that they might bring with them to school. But they can't use the lockers. We are actually putting locks on all of the lockers to help students remember this rule. And the locker room will also be locked. Finally, cleaning protocols. The school has purchased 2 Victory spray cleaners. Now you probably know what those are because those are the backpacks that has a spray gun at the end of it. What they do is they thoroughly disinfect everything that they touch. It also allows us to clean the building very efficiently, and it dries on its own within 15 minutes. We felt like it was best to buy 2 of them. We'll be using them every Wednesday or every e-learning day of every week, just to make sure that the school remains as clean as possible. We don't want anything to be able to live or exist on a hard surface. Next slide. Now, a moment ago, I mentioned e-learning, and it's going to be something that we're going to talk about all semester. In an effort to keep our building clean and provide optimal social distancing, Holy Trinity High School is instituting a complete e-learning day every week. And that day usually will be Wednesday. But there won't be an e-learning day on any weeks where we have a holiday. So for example, in a couple weeks, we will run into Labor Day. Labor Day is on a Monday, so there will be no e-learning day that week. That week, the other 4 days, we are in the building. And it'll be blue, gold, blue, gold. On e-learning days, however, all students will remain home. Now that includes a few of you who opted with the option of coming to school every day, maybe because you had an IEP. On Wednesday or on e-learning day, the doors will be closed to our students. That's the day we're going to be cleaning the entire building. Now we'll have some administrators here, and we might even have a few faculty here, those who feel more comfortable teaching in the classroom. But rest assured, on that day, it's a normal class day just at home. What that means is that first period begins at 8 o'clock. We expect your son or daughter to be in front of their Chromebook by 8 a.m. to make it to their first class. Now the Chromebooks are a little tricky. You have to make sure that they're plugged in at least for an hour before you use them. So the smart move will be keep them plugged in at all times and keep them close to the place where your son or daughter will be going to school every day at home. But it's important to ensure and remember that you do that. Now, we've outfitted every classroom with a camera to allow for what we call simultaneous learning and instruction. That means that our teachers will have the capability to teach in 2 different places at once. We'll have students here in the building on most days, and also teaching to students who can live stream in who are e-learning. So what that means is today, all e-learning students, if they haven't already, would have received a Google Meet invite for class tomorrow. That invite is located in your student's email inbox. I would recommend that you let your students know to check their email inbox tonight. And when they wake in the morning, to get up a little early and to look at it again and be ready for class first thing at 8 o'clock. Now, we also have homeroom, and obviously we have lunch, which will be happening in the building. But we are sensitive to the fact that your student will be in front of a Chromebook or laptop all day. So during homeroom and lunch, which is usually either 4th or 5th period, we are counting that as a break. Your son or daughter can go to the bathroom or stretch their legs, or maybe even leave the room for at least 20 minutes. But if they have a 4th period class or a 5th period class, and for 6th period, they need to report to class on time. Earlier today, we sent the schedule for the bell, which allows every student to know what time is each class. We're going to ask you parents to also read it and place it near them so they know when class begins. This week, we're going to be a little flexible. It's a new normal. If your student is late for class 2 or 3 minutes, that's okay. We understand that they're getting used to this process. But after this week, we are expecting every student to be in front of their Chromebook on time for every period, for every class, every day. Sounds like a lot, but they are HT tough. And that's what we'll be teaching to them. That's the culture that we're coming from. Now, assignments, exams, quizzes, teachers will be letting their students know when those will be taking place. So make sure that your son or daughter also is reading their syllabi and they are ready and prepared for all assignments, exams, and quizzes. Now, one thing that we noticed in the spring semester was that when we did simultaneous learning there, we saw students who came to class on their laptop with no shirt on, who had just woke up, still in the bed with a sheet around them. They weren't properly dressed for class. Now, e-learning students do not have to wear their uniform, but they have to be presentable in class. They also need to have their videos on for every class. What that means is they need to allow the teacher to be able to see their face. Now, they can use a virtual background. We actually recommend that they do that. But all students will be facing their teacher. The camera will be facing their teacher in every class. And that's the only person that'll be able to see them. Next slide. I'm sorry, go back. I see a question right now. I think we're going to wait to the end for the questions, but we will get to all of them tonight. All right, we can move on to the next slide.
Good evening, Holy Trinity family. My name's Nara Mahone, the assistant principal. I'm going to discuss more supports that we have here at Holy Trinity, our student supports as well as our counseling department. This year's theme is family, and part of family, we are here for you as your extended family. So a lot of the supports that we're providing, we'll talk about academic and social emotional. So one of the supports that we have, it's called Freshman Academy. And what Freshman Academy does, it really supports students in a supportive environment, both academically and socially, as well as emotionally. We want to ensure that students are safe, they feel secure, especially their first years here at Holy Trinity. We also use a program, part of Freshman Academy, from the Rush Neurobehavioral Curriculum. This curriculum focuses on executive functioning skills, such as organization, time management, study habits, and study skills. That's available for not only freshmen, but also all students. All grade levels will also have the opportunity to have silent reading during homeroom if you are here in person, as well as checking in with their teachers and going through organizations. Another student support here at Holy Trinity, we have our Resource Learning Center, and that's available for all students on all levels. Students that may need extra support in their classes, the Resource Learning Center will have supports there. They collaborate with their teachers, look at certain skills and levels that they're at, and really push them to meet the expectation and above. The next support we have, it's called Title I services. Students have to qualify for those services, and the tutors and teachers for Title I, they support students in reading and math. And they really support those foundational skills where students need some support. Our teachers are also another support. Teachers will provide office hours or tutoring hours before or after school for your children or child, and that will be on an individual basis. The next slide, I'm going to talk about our counseling department. You may move. Our counseling department, we use the American School Counselor Association, which offers a national model for school counseling. We have two counselors here. We have a new counselor, her name is Kelly McMullen, so you can reach out to her if you have any questions or concerns. And our other counselor, her name is Ms. Hogan. You may be familiar with her. You can also reach out to Ms. Hogan. Our counselors, they focus on academic, career, and college, and personal, social, emotional supports throughout the year, and this is for all students. We also are very proactive and not reactive, so if there's something that we notice, whether it's communicating with a teacher or an administrator. The counselors are very involved, and they will reach out to the student as well as you. You may move to the next slide. The counseling department has 3 tiers. The first tier focuses on all supports for all students. This again focuses on our social emotional learning supports. I've talked about our executive functioning supports in our homeroom when students are in class. That's the organizational skills and our study habits, as well as study skills. We have other supports, our drug prevention, drug awareness program week, different activities and college fairs throughout the school year and assemblies once we're able to come back together. Another partnership we have called Junior Achievement. They focus on money management and career choices, and many other organizations such as Youth Outreach as well as United Stand if you need more intensive supports and one-to-one individualized counseling. Next slide, please. Our second tier, again, our freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and seniors have individualized supports. Again, the Freshman Academy, which I've talked about before, that focuses on our building healthy relationships as well as a positive growth mindset. Our sophomores, their goal and career and personal interest exploration with the counselors. Our juniors will be working with College 101 and postgraduate planning with our counselors, and our seniors will be working on actual college applications with the counselors and postgraduate planning. Third tier, we have the one-to-one or small group session with counselors, and if need be, referrals to different doctors or psychologists for any kind of evaluation that's needed. Referrals for those testings will be, again, individualized, and that will reach out to you for those partnerships with different partners that I've mentioned before through United Stand and Youth Outreach. Next, I'm going to have Jonathan Tarasi, our Director of Technology, talk about our technology program. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mahone. You can go to the first slide. Thank you. As Dr. Payton said, I am the Director of Technology as well as a faculty member. My main goal, my main purpose at Holy Trinity is to make sure that teachers and students have the technological tools that they need to do their work every day. And as many of you can imagine, as you can see with this format, we depend on that more and more than ever before. So the main tool that we use to facilitate that learning is the Chromebooks. So we have been rolling out the Chromebooks by grade level for the past few years, and our timing could not have been better in getting Chromebooks now to the hands of every student this year. This is the first year in which every student will have a device. So that means that they are all prepared. They have a platform that allows them to learn. So we have, as the program has gone on, we have been encouraging teachers more and more to integrate digital technology into their lessons. So that could be anything from the Google suite of productivity tools like Docs, like Google Slides, and teachers have been creative. I'm always astonished by how creative they are with the tools that they use. There are all kinds of things that integrate into the lessons to make the lessons interactive. And as you'll see, we have a couple of programs that are going to be essential for facilitating learning this year. All students, as of today, who have turned in their Chromebook agreements signed, now have Chromebooks in their possession, and we've worked hard to make sure that they're up and running with the very basics, meaning that they can open their Chromebook, they're signed in, they can access their email, and they can access their Schoology account. I'll talk more about Schoology in a minute. I encourage you to use the rest of the night for your students to get familiar with their Chromebook if they haven't already. And the main thing is to get the Chromebooks charged so that they have a full charge for the day. We'll talk more about the capabilities of the Chromebooks in a minute, but getting them charged overnight should give them the devices the power that they need to make it through an entire day of lessons. It might drain a little heavier with so much video conferencing, so be prepared for that. But for the students that are going to be in person, our experience has been that charging it overnight is sufficient to get the Chromebook to last through the class day from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. Next slide, please. So a little bit about the device. It's called the Acer Spin 11. It is touchscreen, and as you can see from the photo, it folds all the way back on itself to be usable as a tablet. So it has a keyboard with the basic set of keys, not a number pad, but basic set of QWERTY keys. It has 4 gigabytes of memory. It has a modest processor, and it is designed to be thin and portable. So although we have it in a case to make sure that it's safe, it's fairly small. It's got an 11-inch screen. So it's small enough to be portable, but it's large enough that they can use very full-featured applications. So what should be issued with the Chromebook is a case, a stylus, with the exception of devices for the freshmen. Those did not come with styli, but all returning students should have a stylus. All students should have a case, and all students should have a charger, obviously. Next slide, please. So the freshmen at their orientation on Monday received their Chromebooks. Today, the returning students all received their Chromebooks, those who turned them in over the summer. Those who used their Chromebooks over the summer for different summer internships, summer programs, studies of some kind, they should still have their devices, and those devices should be ready to use, no problem. Next slide, please. These devices, because of how essential they are to instruction, they need to be cared for with great attention to detail. So just wanted to go over some of the very basics of how your students should care for these devices. It should go without saying that you should never leave the Chromebook unattended. It's just too easy to lose them. I know that at first when a student receives the device, it can be hard to keep track of, having a new thing to keep track of, but it's very important that you hang on to them and make a habit of checking where the device is and having it on hand at all times. The Chromebooks are also in a case for a reason. We don't want them to be damaged from a drop or from accidentally being knocked off of a table. So the cases are designed for the Chromebook to be left in the case. So there's a series of straps that keep the device secured in the case. So please do not remove the device from the cases. It can be used perfectly well as in laptop mode from within the case. When you're not using the Chromebook, zip up the case and put the case in a book bag. If you need to clean the screens, you can use a microfiber cloth and maybe the tiniest bit of moisture, so just a drop of water, should clean up most smudges and just oil from fingers. Don't put anything heavy on the Chromebook. That's going to potentially break the screen or the hinges. It has a stylus, but that does not mean that you can use a pen or a pencil with it, so don't write on it in any way. Be really careful about liquids. Obviously, try not to drop it. The cases help, but they are not a panacea, so make sure that it's safe on a table. And one thing that we've seen is you got to be careful with pets. They find a way into everything, but just make sure that the device is somewhere where it's not going to be damaged when the student's not using it. Next slide, please. When your student comes to school, the expectation is that the device is completely charged. Teachers rely on these when the student is remote or when they're in class. So we don't want the device to not be ready to use. A lot of times power outlets are hard to come by in a class. They might be located far from a student's desk or near the back of the room. So just make a habit of charging them overnight, and they should be able to go through an entire day of class until your student makes it home. and they're able to charge it again over the next night. However, make sure that your student brings the charger with them and has it in their case at all times, on the chance that they need to be charged at school, because teachers do not have chargers. So if charging needs to happen at school, the device needs to have the charger in the case. We do understand that the devices will occasionally be broken, and we have resources for that, but it's important that we know what's covered and what responsibilities fall on your shoulders with these devices. So the devices do have a damage policy, and that's an acknowledgement that mishaps do happen. However, they do not cover absolutely everything, and they will not cover you if the damage was caused by some kind of user error or misuse. So we really urge you to be careful with the devices. We urge the students to be as careful as possible. When a repair needs to be done, there is a $25 fee. That does not include diagnosing software issues. If it's just that an email isn't working or Schoology isn't working, that's not an issue. We'll attend to that as soon as possible. But this is if the device needs to be sent in for repairs, if it needs to be temporarily given to our repair department and it requires hardware work, then that will assess a $25 fee. If your student believes that their device needs repair, they should take it to me in my room, which is room 311. And the first thing that I'll do is I'll give it an assessment. I will basically triage it and determine whether or not work needs to be done and what kind of work needs to be done. If we decide that we need to send it in for repair, we will give it to our in-house tech consultants, which do all of our repair work, and a loaner Chromebook will be issued. We have plenty of extras, and so if repairs need to be done, your student will not be without a device. They will have a device that works, and because all of our learning is based on cloud technology, they can log into the new Chromebook and they have access to all their services. We encourage students to save everything to their Google Drive, which is cloud storage. They do a lot of their work from email. They do a lot of their work from Schoology, which is also cloud-based. So once they get their loaner, they can sign in and they can pick up right where they left off. If the device needs repair, like I said before, it should come to me for analysis first. Don't take it to an outside repair person. They are not authorized to do the repairs. We have everything that we need to do so in-house. And if pieces of the Chromebook accessories are lost, if the Chromebook is lost, if it is damaged to a significant degree, it may be the case that you'll be charged for the market value of replacement. We have a list of maintaining those prices. We look them up when we need to, but generally speaking, as of now, usually the Chromebook is around $350 if it needs to be completely replaced. The cases usually run for $10. The chargers are about $30. The stylus, if your student was issued a stylus, is about $10. And if we need to bill you, those will just be added to your tuition account. Obviously, if we have problems with students abusing the Chromebooks, especially stealing them or vandalizing them, it will be an issue for the dean to deal with. Next slide, please. If your student withdraws for any reason, before they withdraw, they need to submit their Chromebook back to the school with all the accessories. So what happens is we schedule a time for your student to come in. They'll bring the device, and then I will fill out an inventory sheet determining that all the devices, the device and the accessories are in good working order. And if they're found to be in working order, then you can finish the withdrawal process. Otherwise, any missing parts or any damaged parts that are not suitable to be reused, we will charge for the replacement cost. Next slide. Our network that we use at school and access to the internet generally is a significant, indispensable resource for education. But we also acknowledge that the internet can be dangerous and it can expose students to improper behavior, improper information. And so we take great caution to make sure that the internet is made safe, and that to the extent that we can, we are able to filter out content that has the potential to harm your student. So we use an internet content filter that complies with the Children's Internet Privacy Act, the Protection Act. This filter is on their device. It's installed by the school. The student is not able to uninstall it, and the filter is active whether the student is in the building or if they are remote. So no matter what network they're on, no matter how it is that they are accessing the internet, if it's done on the device, it will be filtered. That also means that we are aware when the filter gets a hit. There are times when the filter has a false positive, when the student is trying to access information that they have a right to access. If that's the case, please, either you or your student let me know. We'll take a look at the content and we will determine whether or not the content should continue to be blocked. And if it does not merit blocking, we will take steps to unblock the content. We also have, we want to let you know that in order to make sure that students are safe, in order to make sure that they're not harming themselves or others, we do monitor the activity on the Chromebook. So we are able to view email messages. We are able to view Schoology content. We are able to view how they use their devices. And our counselors are made aware of those things. So if we find content that, if we find the student engaging in behavior that doesn't meet with our values, we're able to detect that and we're able to intervene as soon as we can. A little bit on Schoology. This is a huge tool that we need, that we use for managing our day-to-day education. It's the way that we take attendance. It's the way that we maintain grades. And it's also the way that we can even have teachers assign assignments and have students submit the assignments. It's possible for a student to go their entire day just on Schoology for every class. So it is really central to what we do. The students are able to log into Schoology right away. It's linked to their email. So now that they are logged into their emails, they have access to Schoology, and we've shown them how to access that. You are also able to access Schoology. So if you wish to view what your student is seeing, you can. We can create a parent account. The parent account is linked to the student account, and the parent account is able to see just what your student sees. So you can see your son or daughter's grades. You can see their attendance record. You can see what classes they have. You can see what upcoming assignments they have. And you can do all of this either on a laptop or desktop device or on a mobile device. There are apps for iOS and Android, and those can give you notifications of what your child is doing, so you can keep tabs on their academic work. And we believe that you're a very important part of the equation. You know, what you do is indispensable to how our students perform. And so this is how you best integrate and see what they're doing day to day. So if you have a desire for a parent account, please let me know. You can email me at jtarasi@holytrinity-hs.org, and you will be provided with that address in written form. Next slide. At this point, your student should have their Chromebook agreement signed. Returning parents, returning students, the agreement is already signed. You only need to sign it once. It's not a yearly thing, so that's taken care of. If your student is a transfer in or a freshman this year and you have not signed this agreement, I urge you to review it tonight and go over it with your student and sign it and have them sign it so that we can get the device issued, because without this, we cannot issue a device. Let me know if you have any questions about this, but it covers a lot of the stuff that I just covered about responsibilities and care for the device. And so once you get that to the office, to Ms. Mahone, then we can issue your student device right away. Next slide. All right, thank you.
So, thank you, Mr. Tarasi. I'll be speaking about the cafeteria program at Holy Trinity. This applies mainly to the students in the blue and gold cohorts who will be with us in person at school this year. So Holy Trinity partners with Country House Kitchen for our food service program. They have a restaurant in Alsip, and they also run a number of high school kitchens for area Catholic schools as well as some local universities. We've been with them for a number of years, and we've been very pleased with their service. They cook everything fresh from scratch on site at Holy Trinity each day and make sure it follows the USDA guidelines. Next slide, please. So just go over the basics here. Breakfast is available from 7 a.m. until 7:45. The doors to Holy Trinity will open at 7 a.m. Only students who plan to eat in the cafeteria, eat breakfast, will be allowed into the cafeteria. To accommodate social distancing, we do not want this to be a place where students are just coming to socialize. So if a student wants to eat breakfast in the morning, we definitely encourage that, and they're allowed to go to the cafeteria. If they are not interested in breakfast but need somewhere to hang out before school starts at 8 a.m., they can go to another room, which I believe will be the auditorium, and they can spread out in there. To accommodate smaller sizes of students at any one time in the cafeteria, we've divided the lunch period into 4 groups: freshmen, sophomores, seniors, and juniors in that order. We had to spread out the times a little bit, so the freshmen will be eating on the early side at 10:37 a.m. until 11, sophomores at 11:03, seniors at 11:28, and juniors at 11:53. So it seems that with the way the cohorts divided up, we would have probably no more than 25 students in the cafeteria at a time. As we mentioned earlier, there's only 2 students per table, and there is a partition between those 2 students at each table. We're also trying to minimize the number of items that are handed and handled by people back and forth. So while we will accept cash payments at the cash register, no change will be given. So if you want to send your students with smaller bills, that's fine. For example, if they were to buy lunch for $4 and give a $20 bill, rather than giving $16 in change, our plan is to add the $16 to their account for future use. Next slide, please. We also want to think about taking advantage of the opportunity of having the students who are in the building take meals home before they leave. The thought process is that if a student is at Holy Trinity on Monday, we have an opportunity to give them meals that they could take home with them to cover the next 2 days while they will be learning remotely. So we invite students who are interested, especially students who are on the free and reduced lunch program, which I'll discuss later, to come back to the cafeteria at 3 p.m. before they leave the building to pick up their meals for Tuesday and Wednesday. So we're going to have packaged meals available for pickup. It will include a breakfast and a lunch to cover the upcoming days when the students will not be at Holy Trinity. So it could be a great opportunity for you to save some funds by not having to feed your students out of your own pockets. So due to our efforts, to not have too much traffic inside the building and let those who are learning remotely focus on their instruction and not trekking back and forth to Holy Trinity or coming into the building and visiting with all of their friends. This opportunity, unfortunately, we can only make available at this time to those students who are learning in person. But we do encourage you, if you have a student in the blue or gold cohort, to remind them to go back to the cafeteria one more time before they leave at 3 p.m. It'll just take a second to grab meals that are already packaged, and they can bring them home to help the family out. Next slide, please. So we use a program, an interface called My Meal Time, and this is probably familiar to all of our returning parents. for students to make purchases in the cafeteria, to add money to their accounts, and for parents also to keep an eye on what their students are purchasing. So this is both a website and an app. You can find this in the Apple's App Store or the Android App Store on your mobile device, and we recommend that you download that. I'll just quickly go through what happens after you download it. Next slide, please. So you'll want to click after you download the app to register a new account underneath Sign In. And this is, again, mostly for our new freshman parents and parents of transfer students. Next slide, please. Importantly, they're looking for the parent's date of birth here. They want to make sure that this is an adult who's allowed to make financial transactions. So this is the parent's date of birth that they're asking for. Next slide, please. Then you'll want to click on Add a Student. So we're going to be looking up your own specific student for you to add and connect your app to your student. Next slide, please. So they'll ask for some information. Again, this is the parent information, the account holder who will be actually making the payments. Next slide, please. All right, and here you get a little bit more specific. You're going to look up your student by selecting Illinois as a state and Holy Trinity High School as the school. It's going to ask for your student ID. That ID number can be found on the top of your student's schedule. It'll be next to their name after the hashtag symbol, and that's their student ID, which you can find again on their course schedule. And then you just want to write the student's first name, specifically only start with the first 4 letters of their first name to find your student. Next slide, please. So you'll see after it's added that the name of your student, here my name is used, but you can also add a second student if you've got more than one student at Holy Trinity to have a family account. Next slide. You can set up an alert to be notified if your balance reaches a certain point. You could set that dollar amount, whatever makes sense for you, $1, $5, $10, but you'll be notified that your funds are getting low and you can add additional monies for your students to spend. You can also manage your cafeteria accounts and keep an eye on more detailed information. Next slide, please. That would allow you to see your account balance. You can even drill down to see what specifically your student is spending your money on. If you want to make sure that they are focusing on the well-balanced meal and less so on the cookies and Powerades, we recommend that you just double check to make sure that they're making healthy choices in the cafeteria line. Next slide. You can add money to the account through the interface. There is a processing fee, which you'll see on the next slide. So there is a fee that's added, kind of a convenience fee, and this is charged by My Mealtime, not by Holy Trinity. Alternatively, if you want to avoid the fee, you can send your student to school with cash and they can deposit it at the cash register either during breakfast or lunch. Next slide. So you can link either a credit or debit card or your bank account through the eCheck module to make payments and add funds to your student's account. Next slide. And this is probably the most important part of my presentation. We do participate in the National School Lunch Program and the Illinois Free and Reduced Meal Program. This has been a great resource for a number of people in Chicago and at Holy Trinity. Unfortunately, international students who are here on an international visa are not eligible for this program. But we encourage you to apply. It can provide great savings to you as you use the cafeteria at Holy Trinity to either get a free meal for your student or a greatly reduced price meal. Now this next request might seem odd, but we would like even those parents who have selected e-learning full-time 5 days a week to apply for this program. And that's because a lot of funding is determined based on how many students at a school are on the free and reduced lunch program. So the more students that we can have apply, the more resources that you can both get for your own family and Holy Trinity can receive in services such as title monies for extra educational programs. So some of the benefits for the free and reduced lunch program, even if you're not going to be visiting us in person this semester, is you can get reduced prices on the ACT test, AP exams, dual credit program with Benedictine University, some scholarships. So there's a lot of different avenues that you can use if you do qualify for free and reduced lunch. So we encourage you to apply. Next slide, please. So I just want to point out some information that you can find on the cafeteria program on our website under the parents section. Next slide, please. So there's information about My Mealtime here. You can access it directly if you don't want to go through the app store of your mobile device. Next slide, please. And we also ask that you use My Mealtime to apply for the free and reduced lunch program. This might be something that would probably be easier to do on a computer rather than your mobile device, but you could certainly try if you're up for it. So when you log into My Mealtime, you'll see on the left-hand side where we've circled here in red a link to the application for a free and reduced lunch program. And this prevents you from having to print something out and mail it back to Holy Trinity. So if you were to click on that link, you'd be taken to the next slide. It will likely ask you to log into My Mealtime again. It will take the same password and username that you've set up to log in through Mealtime on any device. Next slide. You start a new application. And then you're going to select Illinois as your state and your district is Holy Trinity High School. So an important thing to note is that, we could go back to that previous slide. Current students who were at Holy Trinity last year and qualified for the free reduced lunch program are given a 30-day grace period this school year to continue to receive the benefits of the free and reduced lunch program. If they don't renew their application by submitting it through My Mealtime within the first 30 days, then come September, you will begin to be charged full price for your meals. So we encourage you to reapply if you were part of the program last year. And then for new students, we encourage you to apply now to make sure that you can be processed and not have to pay full price if you qualify for some support through the free and reduced program. So we will continue to welcome any feedback and questions you have about the program. We do have a wellness committee. We invite parents and students to serve on that. And that's a great way to provide feedback on the menu. The menu, I should note, is available on our website. You can usually plan ahead for the whole month, take a look at it and see if you want to buy a school breakfast or lunch that day, or maybe bring your own lunch, which you are allowed to do. But we welcome your feedback on the cafeteria program, what's working well, what items you like, what items you don't like, and any feedback on the menu would be appreciated. Thank you.
Hi, I am your Dean of Students, and I'm here to provide behavioral intervention and social and emotional support for the students. My ultimate goal is to provide primary and secondary intervention for your children. And so if there's anything that you need, I am here. And just to reiterate some of the rules, policies, procedures that Dr. Payton has already stated. Students are expected to be in attendance for each class during every period. Students are required to wear uniforms, but should be dressed appropriate, are not required to wear uniforms, but should be dressed appropriately. We are expecting students to be on time for class, whether they are virtual or in the building. And students should have their cameras on and be actively engaged in the classroom instruction. And lastly, students are allowed to have a snack as long as it is not disruptive to the class. And again, I am Dr. Baker, and I am here to serve your students. That's all I have.
Okay, I think that's the end of the presentation. I don't know if we want to go ahead and dive into some questions. I see that we do have some questions. Let me just scroll back up to the top. I'll just go ahead and start reading off some questions from T. Cruz Gray. It would be great if every teacher does not require binders and notebooks, plus the school books, plus the Chromebooks. I am not sure how much one backpack can hold. The Chromebooks should be used a lot more so they have less to lug each and every day. Dr. Payton, do you want to respond to that?
Yes, they are not required. As a matter of fact, some of our teachers, because we've talked about this, has gone as far as making some of the books not required to carry and to lug around. Some of our books have been converted into e-learning books or e-books, meaning that they also would not have to be carried around. I do have concerns about that. I know we have some young ladies who may not be the strongest, and we don't want to overwhelm them with a large backpack. So to answer that question, those things are not required.
All right, thank you. Next question, my son's Chromebook did not have a charger in the case. Who can we email about this? I believe Mr. Teresi. You can reach out to Mr. Jonathan Teresi about that, and I'm sure he will be able to get you a charger for your Chromebook. Next question from Taretha Green. Is it possible for the parents to obtain copies of the student's syllabus? Dr. Payton.
Yes, you can. You can simply ask your students to give the syllabus, or if the syllabus is available through Schoology, you can get it there.
All right. How do I order another stylist for my child? It was lost. Jonathan, I'm going to have you answer that.
Yeah, I tried to answer some of these questions as they came up, so I might have answered it already, but just to reiterate, you place all the orders through me. So once you confirm that you want to make an order, you let me know. Email works best, and then we'll have that issued directly to your student. We'll basically find a time for them to meet at the offices for where our supplies are, and then you will be just issued a charge on your tuition account, and it'll be taken care of that way.
All right. Next question. What about the students that have a band during lunch and homeroom? Do they get a break?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. Most of our students who are in band do have a study hall on their schedule, so that if they're e-learning, that would double as a break.
Right. Thank you for that. Next question. I saw on my child's schedule that there isn't a teacher for American History dual credit class. So what should she do for that period until a teacher is selected? Also, I would need a book for that class. When would I receive that?
The dual credit courses are through Benedictine University and taught by professors from Benedictine. Your child should have a study hall. If not, have your child see me tomorrow in my office. It's in the counseling department, and I'll make sure they're set up with that study hall. And they can also work on the classwork at home.
All right, thank you, Ms. Mahone, for that. The next question from Sandra Hernandez. If a student has a doctor's appointment on an e-learning day, how do we report it to the school?
The same way you would report it to the school if none of this was going on. Simply call the office and let us know.
Okay, thank you for that. It's the same. Next question, is it the same account for returning students as last year? I
believe that was in reference, Charles, to my mealtime. And if your student was here last year, yes, it is the same account that you used last year.
All right, thank you for that, John. Mr. Malloy. Question from Sandra, will the cleaning/Clorox wipes used to clean each desk after every class be provided by the school? And I believe the answer to that is yes. We will have Clorox wipes available in each class for students to use to wipe down their desks. All right. Next question, why are students being charged a lock fee when locker usage is prohibited at this time?
The lock fee is a part of the overall fees that students are assessed, which I believe are $450. So there isn't necessarily a specific fee for locks per se. It's just a part of the fee structure that we have in the district.
Okay, thank you. Next question, how will homeroom work for a student who is doing e-learning? Will they have to also partake in a Google Meet?
No. Homeroom will be a break for students who are on e-learning.
All right. Question from Maria, is online e-learning 5 days a week? I'm just confused because in-school learning is only 2 days a week with only 1 day e-learning.
Could you restate the question?
Yes, so Maria's asking, is online e-learning 5 days a week? And she says that she was just confused because in-school learning is only 2 days a week with 1 day e-learning.
Yes, e-learning 100% is all 5 days of every week, Monday through Friday.
Yep, okay. Rosalind asks, my child is a junior and didn't pick up her ID info today. Can she do that tomorrow?
Yes.
Okay. Latasha is asking, so did you say it was too late for my freshmen to switch from hybrid to e-learning?
No, that is the one thing that we will allow throughout the semester, hybrid to e-learning.
Thank you. And next question, just to make sure my child can not wear a uniform on Wednesday. Maybe that's in reference to e-learning.
Yeah, I think I saw that one. You do not have to wear your uniform if you are full-time e-learning. You're certainly welcome to, you just don't have to. But students who will be coming to the building must wear their uniform.
Okay. This next question is for Mr. Tarasi. Will students receive a new Schoology password? I was not able to log in last school year.
Any parent who wants an account to access their students' information can get in touch with me, and then I can get that set up for you.
Okay. Next question, my student has gym semester 2. When does that begin?
It would begin semester 2.
Okay.
That's January, right?
Let's say that again, Mr. Malloy.
That would be January.
Okay.
Yeah.
Will we provide any ACT prep classes? No.
Are you asking ACT prep? Yes, we're ordering e-test, so the information will be coming out soon. It will be all online.
Barbara asks, what will my child do for PE class if she's home e-learning?
That's actually an excellent question. We have met with our PE department about that. The first day of school, the physical education course will all meet together. Those students who are at home will have simultaneously instruction with their instructor in the gym. So we'll be using one of the cameras. But throughout the semester, that class will resemble what many people may think about if you look at a health class. So learning how to take one's pulse, heart rate, nutrition, diet, things of that nature. Also, there may be some assignments where students will be asked to perform certain exercises for that teacher.
Okay. Another question, where in Schoology is the school ID located and where is the syllabus located? Mr. Tarasi, you want to answer that?
Yeah, there's not one set place that that the syllabus is located. So each teacher is responsible for creating their syllabus and publishing the syllabus. Each course section has its own location on Schoology, and generally speaking, we encourage teachers to put their syllabus somewhere on their course section in Schoology. So it's different for every teacher, but they're encouraged to put it up there so that the student and parents have access to it for every single course section.
Okay. Another question that came in is, I requested e-learning, but called this morning to change to hybrid and was told that I will receive an email to confirm change. Who can I contact about that?
Alejandra Saavedra or Nara Mahone. My guess is that was recorded though, if you were told that.
Okay. Hybrid, another question from Lorraine. Hybrid learning is only 3 days. That's a question that she's asking.
It is 2 days, either Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Friday.
But they're responsible for school the other 3 days. I think that's where the confusion comes in.
We have 5 days of instruction every week. 5 days of instruction. The difference is that on 2 of those days, those students who are in the blue or gold cohort will be in the building. But every day of every period, we have instruction.
Stephanie Clay asks, how do they do gym from e-learning? I believe we answered that. She also has a follow-up and she asks, my daughter did not receive all books provided by the school. How do we arrange to pick up for missing books? And I think we may have answered that too, but Dr. Payton, could you speak to that again?
If your daughter is in the building, if they're in the hybrid model, they they'll get their books, whatever books they didn't receive when they come here, whether that's tomorrow or Thursday. If they're e-learning, they should contact either the professor, the teacher, or they can contact myself or Ms. Mahone, and we'll make arrangements for your daughter to get their books.
Okay. Tashana asks, does freshmen and transfer students have to bring money? This is a question for Mr. Malloy. Do they have to bring money for breakfast and lunch for the days they are in school until they are approved for free or reduced lunch?
That would certainly be our preference, that they bring money. They don't start off with a negative balance. That being said, in the early days of school, we will not deny students food. So they're welcome to put it on their tabs on credit, and we'll sort it out after their free and reduced lunch applications are processed. But we do encourage you, if you plan to apply for free or reduced lunch, to do it as soon as possible.
I think a follow-up question to that, does the Peak Scholarship cover breakfast or in lunch or not?
No, it does not. That only applies to support tuition.
Okay. Another question, I think Ms. Mahone, I think may be able to answer this. If a student was a Title I student in 8th grade, would they be able to continue this program?
Yes, your child will, and we'll have that information from the previous school that they were at. So they'll be able to receive Title I services.
If I change my student from blue to gold, does she need to go to school tomorrow? I haven't received an email with instructions. Ms. Mahone, do you want to answer that one?
Can you repeat the question?
The parent is asking if I change my student from the blue cohort to the gold cohort, does she need to come to school tomorrow? Because the gold cohort will be in the building tomorrow.
If it was already made, the schedule changed, then she would go on the actual day of the in-person learning. We're not making any changes as of today moving forward unless it's 100% e-learning. So if the schedule change has been made, she will start the day of her assigned color in person.
And that's tomorrow. Tomorrow is a gold day. If your son or daughter, in their designation, in their schedule, where in the top right corner, it will say either gold or blue. Tomorrow, first day, is gold. So we expect all gold students to be in the building. Those of you who are blue, you will remain home and you will go to class via your Chromebook. Thursday, the next day, it will flip-flop. And we will invite all blue students to the building and gold will stay at home. The calendar is available on our website via our reopening plan. The calendar also will be emailed to students and parents tomorrow. It will also be posted in the building. It is also will be posted on our social media, and we will announce it every day before the end of the day of what day is next. Good way to know this, we will never have 2 consecutive days of the same color.
Okay. Will students in the classroom during the hybrid be able to see students on a Google Meet?
We have strongly recommended that not take place. Cameras will only be fixated on the teacher. Now, Google Meet does have a function where a student can give themselves a virtual background where no one, including the teacher, will be able to see into their home.
Okay. Will e-learning students be on break during all of the lunch periods?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you for that. Are the kids receiving their school IDs in person? And how do the e-learning kids get their school IDs?
All students were invited Monday and Tuesday, today, to come get their books, their Chromebook, and to take their ID picture. That was something that was mailed home to all parents about a week and a half or so ago. If you do not have your ID, then you must come to the building and take your picture to get your ID.
For the delivery of the IDs, when students are in person, they are being made right now. We do have the pictures on file. They will pick up their photos here in person. If they're 100% e-learning, we will have to get those mailed out or make arrangements with you.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Payton stated, this is another question, stated that every student who has advanced band during homeroom and lunch should have a study hall, but my child doesn't and has e-learning. When does she take a break? Yes, Dr. Payton.
If the child is e-learning, then their break is during homeroom and lunch.
Okay. Marie Flores is asking, how are you taking attendance? Do they go through Schoology or the first class?
Attendance will be taken by all faculty members as they normally do. They will take attendance of those students who are in the class with them. And if, let's say, there are 5 students who are e-learning, they will check the camera to see who is there. So if there should be 5 students there, we should see 5 students. And then they would just simply let our office know, as they normally do.
Another question about public transit. How do we receive the transit cards or the Ventura cards?
You can contact the business office regarding those. We also have renewal forms available for those who need to have a form reactivated. So specifically, you'd want to contact Adrian Jimenez in the business office, either via email at ajimenez or at extension 3056 after you call the main Holy Trinity number, Adrian Jimenez in the business office.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Jennifer asks, can my child change gym for a different class? She has already had health and gym before.
If there's a schedule mix-up, we can definitely fix the discrepancy. We do offer Gym 1 and Gym 2, so if she has not taken the PE2, I should say, that will be her schedule.
All right. Why does the gold cohort have 2 days this week and blue only have 1 day in the building? I think we answered that, Dr. Payton.
Yeah, there are only 3 days this week since we're starting on Wednesday, so either gold or blue would have had 2 of them.
Okay, thank you for that. Will you be adding the, I believe this is cohort days on the school's website on the calendar? We have the calendar already on our website, holytrinity-hs.org/reopening, where the cohort schedule is placed. But I believe we can also add it to the actual calendar section of the website as well. So I'll put a link to that in the chat, so you can go directly to that. But we'll also add that to the main calendar of the website as well.
We're also going to email it to all parents tomorrow.
Right. Will the students and parents be provided with teachers' email addresses for any concerns?
Yes, all students will have access to their teacher's email address. I believe you also can get access to that via Schoology, is that correct?
Yes, so if a parent has a student, has a Schoology account, which again, you can set up through me, they're also able to message me or any other faculty member.
All right.
Our email address is also on the website, so if you wanted to use that as well, you can.
All right. Someone is asking, will there be homework for e-learning students, homework meaning after school work?
Say that again.
The question was, will there be homework for students e-learning? Homework meaning after school work.
Yes.
Okay. Another question, I was told that students will be receiving a detention if they are late to school online. Is that true?
Yes, I think in our student handbook, I think it's 3 tardies equal a detention.
Okay.
So please be on time for class.
All right. Where can my child get their picture taken? Because pictures were taken today. So where would they be able to go once their picture is taken, or to get their picture taken?
So if they are either in the blue or cohort, they can visit the business office on the first floor of Holy Trinity to get their picture taken.
Thank you, Mr. Malloy. Let's see here. I think this question may have been answered already, but I'll state it again. Will my son get an invitation from the teacher for each class, or does he need to log in?
Son will be getting an invitation for each class.
Answer that. So someone is asking, I didn't understand e-learning students will be on break during all of the lunch periods. Dr. Payton, could you clarify that?
Yeah, so e-learning students do not have to come into the building for lunch. They can have lunch at home. What we want is just for those e-learning students for their next class to be on time for their class. So don't worry about homeroom. Do not worry about lunch. Worry about your classes. Be on time for your classes.
Right. Question, I think Mr. Malloy, you can answer this. Why are juniors eating lunch last when there was an order going down freshmen, sophomores? Mr. Malloy.
I am not sure how that came to be. Mr. Mahone, do you know the logic there?
I honestly don't know the logic behind it. I know it probably had something to do with the schedule course placement for students to get the appropriate classes for their, to meet their requirements.
All right. From Tashana Cooper, my transfer student does not have PE either semester. Is this normal? Ms. Mahone.
What was the question one more time?
I'm sorry about the feedback. So Tashana Cooper is asking, my transfer student does not have a PE either semester. Is that normal?
It depends on her credits from her previous school. We require 2 years of PE. If she is a sophomore and she does not have one, have her come see me at nmahone@holytrinity-hs.org.
All right. When will the school's website be fully updated? That's a question for me. The website is updated daily. And there's another question about the calendar. The calendar that is also updated. So I'll put a link again to that in the chat so you'll be able to see that as well. Same thing about the handbook. Usually every student is required to sign the handbook every year, but I don't see it on the website.
So we'll be emailing out, now that every student has a Chromebook, rather than printing the whole student handbook, which is about 50 or 60 pages, we're going to be emailing it out so all the students have it on their Chromebook device to save some trees, and it'll be available to parents as well before the end of the week.
Okay. I will need to pull my child an hour early from hybrid class tomorrow. Who do I notify to excuse and obtain class instruction, etc.?
You would notify the main office at 773-278-4212.
Will there be any parent club meetings?
Yes, and I am very excited about Parent Club. We'll be getting that up pretty soon.
Right. Mr. Malloy, I believe you answered this already, but I'll state it again for you. How do we complete the free and reduced lunch application?
So you would log into My Mealtime, and then one of the slides that I showed on the sidebar of My Mealtime, there's an option to apply for the free reduced lunch program towards the bottom for the 2020-2021 school year. If you're not seeing it, it may be because you're on your phone. So I would try logging in from a desktop computer and see if it opens up a wider view for you. But it's on the left-hand sidebar of the My Mealtime website.
All right. Will all of the classrooms have cameras? I know this came up in the reopening town hall.
All but one.
Mr. Taransi, I believe this is a question for you. Is everything still blocked on a Chromebook, including YouTube? Students may need to watch videos for class.
So like I said, the Chromebook is blocked whether it's in school or not. With YouTube specifically, we have a special mechanism for that. So YouTube is normally blocked. However, each teacher is able to approve YouTube videos. So if there's a YouTube video that the teacher assigns, the teacher is able and expected to unblock that particular video so that the video can be viewed.
Okay, we just have a few more questions here. How can a student do detention if they're online? Dr. Payton, do you want to answer that one?
That's an excellent question. Off the top of my head, we do have a 9th period, which is from 3:10 to 4 o'clock. So we probably will be sending a Google Meet invite to that student for 9th period, and they'll probably be given an assignment to complete for detention if they are e-learning.
Right. Here's an interesting question. Can students use their own computer instead of the Chromebook?
We strongly discourage that for a couple of reasons. First, like I said, the Chromebooks have certain restrictions placed on them for the student's safety, but more importantly, there are certain academic integrity issues that come with using an independent device. So we have Chromebooks because the teachers are able to temporarily lock certain websites on a Chromebook. So for instance, teachers will often administer a test on Schoology. And in order to keep the test fair, the teacher will lock the Chromebook so that the student can only access Schoology for that time. They're not allowed to go to other websites. This is not possible on non-Chromebook devices. And so this would interfere with the teacher's ability to administer tests and complete certain kinds of instructions. So we really encourage students to use their Chromebook as much as possible.
Thank you. I'm looking over here at the chat. Someone is saying my student is not working. It seems, I think she's talking about mealtime. It keeps saying no matching student on the mealtime, please advise.
So if you're not able to find your student on mealtime, what I would just make sure you're only searching by the first 4 letters of their first name and using their student ID from the top of their student schedule. If that's still not working, just send me an email with your name and your student's name to jmalloy, JMALLOY @HolyTrinity. Type in hs.org and I'll look at it in the morning with Mr. Jimenez.
Okay, there's a question. Will there be fall sports?
As of right now, fall competitive sports look bleak. I'll be honest with you. We are following guidelines from the IHSA, which provides guidance for how we can conduct fall sports. They have okayed girls softball, and boys baseball if a high school does not have a football team. In addition to that, cross country has also been okayed at this point. We are still waiting for final instructions from IHSA on sports in the fall and sports in the spring. Some sports may move to the spring, depending upon where we are with our fight against this pandemic.
All right. Mrs. Olinka does not have an email address in Schoology or the website, unless I have missed it.
Yeah, she is our new Title I teacher, and we just got her yesterday. Not our fault, but she will have that this week, and her invites to her class will go out tonight.
Okay. Mr. Malloy, I think we answered this already, but going to state it. Where do we pick up bus cards for e-learning students? Or maybe we didn't answer this, but where do we pick up bus cards for e-learning students?
Let me check with Mr. Jimenez on that. If you want to send me an email with a specific student name to Jay Malloy, I'll look into it. Just want to make sure that if they're not traveling to school, they're still able to get a venture card. But please send me an email and I'll look into it and how to get it to your student if they're not going to be in the building in person.
Okay, parents, thank you for that. Parent is asking, I haven't received my child's textbooks. I ordered online. Are the teachers going to be understanding?
Yes, I've instructed all of our teachers to be somewhat flexible this week, as we know all of our students have not received their textbooks. Some of them just haven't picked them up. Some of the books were elsewhere, but we have collected them.
Okay. Does a student who is e-learning need to wear a uniform for PE?
No.
All right. Does the class that doesn't have a camera affect sophomore students? Someone is asking which class is that?
That is a sophomore level English class. It doesn't have a camera, but that teacher will be doing video conferencing with her class.
All right. Ms. Mahone, I think this is a question about scheduling. I elected for my child to have e-learning every day, but the schedule shows gold. How can I change that?
Yes, a lot of the schedules were printed about a week ago and a lot of changes have been made after that. If you email me directly, I can check for you and let you know which cohort your child's in. It's in Mahone, M-A-H-O-N-E, at holytrinity-hs.org.
Just a couple more questions here. Mr. Tarasi, I think you can answer this. My son told me he had to put the HT background. How does he do that?
It will depend based on the video conferencing that the teacher chooses to use. I know that there's a specific way of doing that in Zoom. In Google Meet, that can be done with an extension. So we allow the students to download an extension, and the teachers generally can instruct how to do that.
You also can just press on the, well, we're Zoom right now, right? Okay.
Yes.
Teachers will tell them about Google Meet.
Okay. Does the student receive a lunch card or is it connected to their student ID card?
Yes, so the student ID, they should, if you are an in-person student, you should be able to get your student ID on Thursday or Friday. It'll be delivered to your student in person. And that is basically your ID or your payment for the cafeteria program. So you need to have your ID with you, and you'll actually swipe it at the cash register to find yourself in the system.
Okay. I haven't received a list of books that are needed for my child's schedule. How can I obtain one?
Book lists were mailed out almost 2 weeks ago. So I'm not sure why you don't have one. I would think that the best advice, if that student is hybrid, that student could just simply come to the building and we can get her books. If she is e-learning, she may still need to do that. So just come to the building, bring your schedule, and we can get her books. All students, freshmen, transfer, and then sophomore through seniors, were all expected to come to the building yesterday and today to pick up all books, even if you were e-learning.
Right. Carmen asked, since she is gold and I elected e-learning, must she report to school tomorrow? I believe the answer to that is no, but Ms. Mahone, I'll let you answer that.
The question Carmen had was,
Since her student is gold, or since she is gold, her student, and the parent elected e-learning, must she report to school tomorrow?
if the schedule has been changed and it's reflected on her new schedule, no. If she's 100% e-learning, she will learn from home tomorrow.
How many students are each cohort, gold and blue?
I think at this point, I think we're about 167 hybrid, which means that's blue and gold. Not exactly sure the split per cohort.
I pulled it up in front of me. The blue cohort is 90 students and the gold cohort is 81 students. And there are 3 students that will be there every day.
Thanks, John.
Okay, we have a couple questions that came in about, specifically about books. The first question is, there was a total at the book list sent home. When does it have to be paid?
When does it have to be paid?
Yes, Mr. Malloy.
So the books, the rental books are covered as part of your school fees. It's $350 that you pay in fees for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, $450 for seniors, which includes the graduation fees. So if there are dollar amounts there for books that Holy Trinity provides, you're paying for that in your monthly fee of $35 or $45. And there may be some books that you have to go out and purchase on your own through a third-party vendor like Amazon, in which case you just pay that vendor the fee directly for the cost of that book.
Okay, my child was in orientation yesterday, but did not receive any books from any of her classes. What should she do?
She should come back to the building, and first I would say come to the main office and we can ensure that she gets her books. We had a section in our orientation yesterday where students went around given their schedule and received all of their books. So I'm surprised she didn't get hers because we supervised the other students getting theirs.
Okay, the last question that we have here is, my freshman came home on Monday with no books. Does that mean I would have to order all the books on his list?
There are some books that you may need to order, and those would be on the list. But several books are here in the building. We would need to see your child's schedule to figure out which one is which.
Okay, I am just looking over the chat here, and I think both Mr. Malloy and Mr. Tarasi have been answering questions specific to Chromebooks and my mealtime in the chat that people have had. Carla is asking, where do I send tuition payments?
So all tuition payments should be paid through Blackbaud Tuition Management, formerly known as Smart Tuition. You should have been getting emails with your tuition statements that are due. You can make the payments directly through your Smart account, either with credit card, debit card, or direct deposit, ACH check.
More questions about books specific. If the student didn't get all the HT provided books, do they take that up with the teacher for the course? And then a follow-up to that is that, and I think we answered this already, is that my freshman student didn't get her textbooks either and the fee was paid.
If your student does not have their books, please come to the main office and we will get their books.
Okay. I believe that is all the questions that we have. Wait a minute, we have. This is a good question. Are parents allowed in the building or do we need to make an appointment?
We would prefer that you make an appointment, either email or call us, and we can schedule a time to meet with that parent.
Thank you. Right. Okay, I think that's all the questions that we have. Thank you, parents, for submitting those questions. I am going to turn it over to Dr. Payton and Mr. Bott for any closing remarks.
Okay, so I'm still looking at a couple of questions. I want to make sure that parents have all the information that they need. Excuse me, I got a vacuum cleaner in my background. If you don't have if your child doesn't have their books, please send them to our building and we will get them their books. If your child is having a technology issue, let's say their login isn't working on the computer and the student has no idea how to do it, please contact us. If it's a technology issue, please contact Jonathan Tarasi and we will set them up with making sure that they know how to get into their login. This week is a flexible week. What that means is there's not going to be any harm done if a student doesn't have a book or is having some technical issues with their Chromebook. If they're missing something, that is okay. We just want to make sure that this week they get everything they need, either by coming to the building or making arrangements with the main office. So make sure, because we didn't have every single freshman attend freshman orientation yesterday. We didn't have every sophomore, junior, and senior come today to pick up their books and their Chromebooks. So we know there are students out there that don't have everything that they need. Please make arrangements to get everything that they need. In addition to that, there are some forms that went home with your students that we want to make sure we get back. Those 3 forms should be signed by the parents, given back to the students, and brought to the building. Those of you who are e-learning, the forms that you have, simply put it in an envelope and mail it to us. If we don't receive them in the next week or so, we will contact those parents and simply ask to get that information as soon as possible. The other piece I want to just reiterate is tomorrow is a gold day. Can't say that enough because we know we may get 1 or 2 students who are blue. We won't send them home, but we want to make sure that everybody knows tomorrow is a gold day. We'd like to thank all the parents for coming. We hope that this was an informing session, and we are going to be scheduling 3 more of these this semester. One will be in September, one will be in October, and one will happen right after Thanksgiving. The one after Thanksgiving, we will talk about the spring and what the spring will look like here at Holy Trinity. Do we need to keep the cohorts? Are we still going to be e-learning? All of those questions will be answered in the November Parents Town Hall. But we'll have one in September and October. And you guys will be getting information on that pretty soon. So thank you for coming. If If you have any questions, my email address is qpayton@holytrinity-hs.org. That address is also on the website, and my extension is 3022. Feel free to call me, email me, and let's start this semester the best possible way we can.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for your communication. This is a great start to the year. If you don't have your question answered, please don't get frustrated. We're all here to help. Pick up the phone, use the email. We'll find out the answers, and we're looking forward to a great year. What a great night for Holy Trinity. God bless you all, and thank you.
All right, good night.